we can hear you guys.
Bum, 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 bum. And now, starting soon, Panthea's Gaming Live, the streaming panel of the GMs. Welcome, welcome everyone.
Let's get ready to
Let's get ready to
rumble!
rumble.
Love it, guys. Love it. That is a better intro than any music could ever bring in our live GM panel here today. Welcome, everyone. We are a small server, but a mighty server, Panthea Gaming. We're all getting together here with a lot of our game masters that run games on various levels of experience. And we are here to provide some tips and tricks, some support, some answer to some questions that you might have burning. So we're going to chat. We're going to do a roundtable chat. We are in the middle, or well, we're in the beginning phases of our 24-hour stream for Extra Life. We are streaming for the kiddos. We are streaming to raise funds for Children's Miracle Network and giving kids a chance at an extra life. Sorry, everyone. My language is slow today because we have been streaming since midnight.
You have not gotten enough sleep. It's completely understandable.
But yeah, we set a goal as a server to raise $1,000 for the Children Miracle Network, and we are at 530. We actually tipped over the middle, and if you want to contribute, even a little bit goes a long way. Check out in my About section on Twitch. You can also find us at Extra Life. Just look up Panthea Gaming as a team, and you'll see us there. You'll also see all the live streams there too. So if you just wanted to hang out on Extra Life, you can also view everything that's going on for today. We have a full schedule from our GM panel onwards. We got some one-shots. We got Fablecraft up next with Xander, and you're going to hear a little bit about that, I'm sure, today. So we're going to get together and we're going to talk first. We're going to introduce ourselves. By the way, I am Panthea. I am the person who started the server, Panthea Gaming. It is a server, we're a small community, but we put out games, we like to do events. So, if you're interested in joining, definitely check out my About page on Twitch and join our server. You can enjoy some games, get some really good feedback from the community. If you have, questions about how to build a character, we definitely are here to support and help and guide you through that. I have been playing for over 15 years now. Tom and I actually have known each other for a long time through the Discord community. I started off in high school playing like 3rd edition, but then later on got back into it in 5th edition. I was like, this isn't enough. My brother reintroduced me to it. I was like, this isn't enough. I need to find more games. And I found a server way back then. I think it was called like the Beginner's Tavern, right, Tom?
Yeah, I'm actually still in it.
Yeah.
It's quiet these days, but yeah.
And
it's a great place.
It was a great place, and it really offered a lot. Like, they let you GM as a player, you could be beginner, it didn't matter. And so that helped me step into it and get the courage to run more games. And so that's me. You can find me over on Twitch, YouTube, Kickstarter as well. We are launching a Kickstarter this month. We're almost halfway to our pre-launch goals, so we'll by the end of this month, for just in time for Christmas, we're going to be launching The Voyage of the Golden Duchess. So just a little shout out there. Commander Bold, introduce yourself.
I am Commander Bold. Hello, thank you everyone for joining us. I've been GMing and playing for about the same amount of time. I had 2 friends who started me, and then once I got the hook, I was like, I need more of this, a lot more. And my need was more than the supply, so I was like, you know what, let me just start running my own games. I can do this. So I've probably been GMing for 8 years, I want to say. I was a literature major, so numbers don't make sense to me. And yeah, I'm in the middle of a 5 going on 6 year Icewind Dale's Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign with my mom and some of my best friends.
I
So
love that.
check me out on patreon.com/getyourroll-on.
Her mom is
Pretty
a
new
hoot.
to.
I saw one of their episodes. Her mom is a hoot.
Oh my gosh, I need to see these episodes. Okay,
Check it out.
you're gonna check it out.
Yeah, she tried to talk to a dragon.
Tom, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Tom. Also Tom Foolery Clown over on Twitch. So about my experience with Dungeons and Dragons, I've been playing since middle school. So I want to say almost 20 years now. Mostly player. In the last half, a lot of DMing. Certainly, more failures and successes, but that's part of the learning process for DMing. And just happy to hear and support, get kids extra life, and just hopefully share my experience so people don't have to make the same mistakes I did.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And that's why we're here. We're here to tell you some tips and tricks, and a lot of it has been learned through hard labor. Xander.
Hi, I'm Xander. I have been playing D&D for probably like 5 years, so I'm still kind of a baby to this systems, I guess. But I'm a quick learner. And I've been DMing for 2 years. And I've also been branching out into other systems like Fablecraft and the new Dagger Hearts, the new one. But yeah, video MMOs like Guild Wars and things like that is what kind of like I love fantasy. I love like creativity, that kind of stuff. So that like led me into D&D, the storytelling of it and all that fun stuff. So yeah, just happy to be here and raise some money for those kiddos. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Definitely. Thank you guys so much. And Melody, last but not least.
If Xander's a baby, then I guess I'm a literal fetus.
She's a fetus.
I've only been playing for a year and a half, and I've been DMing for a year. So yeah, I guess I'm still a fertilized egg or something in comparison. But a friend of mine in a server that we were in, she was just running a quick like multi-shot because a lot of people in the server were interested in D&D but had never played before. And so she could just kind of wanted all of us to experience it together and learn the system. And I just kind of fell in love with it after that. So yeah.
Yeah. And all levels of experience matter here. Honestly, like for those of you watching, if you're like thinking about doing it, we're hoping to give you the confidence to do it. So definitely in the chat, comment, ask us some questions. We're here to support you. And you can get the feedback from like level 20 all the way to level 1. So I think the cool next thing to chat about is your first adventure that you've ever run. What was it? How did it go? What were things that you felt like, like those were learning curves? It's okay. It doesn't have to be the first one, just like the earliest you can remember.
My first session I tried to run was kind of just dead on arrival. I was like, this seems simple enough, tell a story, improv as you go, we'll figure it out as we figure it out. And considering I hadn't really improved up until that point and was playing with like veteran players who've been playing since like advanced D&D, didn't work out. So this also, I guess, ties in with the question, biggest failures. The premise was they were a group of adventurers going to assist a lord in his manor who collects like cursed and magical items, because the cursed and magical items are running haywire and causing problems, kind of like a weird Ghostbusters scenario.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was a pretty cool premise. I didn't play it as well as I should have. One of the players decided to kind of just wander off and start stealing things. I didn't know as a DM how to react. So then I said, "There's a wizard, and he's got a spell, and it stops you from doing that." And I was like, That's not a way to handle anything. That does not propel the story forward. It doesn't get anything back on track. It's just a kind of a wall that doesn't really fix anything. So I guess that was my biggest failure. And the lesson learned was you kind of just got to go with it. And the other one is planning, something I still struggle with to this day. But I'm hoping to one day revisit that campaign and try it out again.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think my first one, and I highly recommend this for anybody who's starting off GMing. This is Panthea's recommendation. I grabbed a box set. 3.5. They released these awesome box sets that had like the miniatures already like painted and everything. Well, not painted. They were like actually produced. And it had everything you need to know. I totally like. I mean, I had the book in front of me. Like I read the little text box. It didn't matter how mechanical it was, it got across, and I felt like everybody really enjoyed themselves. I had some new players. I was the one who introduced like D&D to my high school and started up like the D&D club. My dad introduced me to D&D. He was like the dungeon master in AD&D, and I think he started in Beckme. But anyways, honestly, that was the best experience ever, is being able to run through a guide, and have that box text. Now, I mean, I don't need the box text. I kind of like, I'll peruse it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to shape it this way. But after, experience like that, but that gave me confidence having something there that I could walk through. So, um, Xander, what was your first game that you ran?
The first game that I ran was, oh my god, I don't really remember. I think it was a one shot. I think because I had a plan out in my head. I was like, okay, I want to be a DM. I want to do this, but I know that I can't just jump straight into a campaign because I'm not ready for it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna dip my toes and do little one shots, and then once I feel more comfortable with that, I'll start, picking something up and running it from campaign wise, which I wasn't ready for. So I don't really remember what my first game was. I just know that it was a one shot, and then I did a couple of those to get under my belt. And by the time that I was like, okay, I'm ready, I did my first campaign, and it wasn't even a real campaign. It was like, okay, it was Heliana's Guide to Monster Hunting, and it had like 5 adventures in there. So I was like, well, okay, I'll just use that as we'll just run it as a short campaign kind of thing. And I realized glaringly all the things that I needed to work on, or all the things that I was like, I thought I had a handle on, but I really didn't have a handle on it. So I was like, it was a really good teaching tool to be like, oh, like crap, I'm not good at this. Oh, I need to polish this a little bit more, or whatever it was. So it didn't last very long. It only lasted for a couple, about 5 sessions, and then I was like, sorry guys, like I need more time to get to be a better DM. So thanks for the interest. This is fun. But yeah, I would say my biggest lesson though was like, I see things in my head, and I think that I'm telling them the way that that they're seeing it the same way, but I'm not describing it well enough where they're not seeing it the way that I'm seeing it, which is like very rarely that's going to happen 100, 1-to-1, right? But I'm learning to like, I've learned to like, I need to get more descriptive with my like all 5 senses and all that kind of stuff, and exactly where they are and where they're positioned, how they see and smell and all that kind of stuff, just so that they get a better idea of what I'm seeing in my head.
Yeah.
So that they can see it too. Because I've had a couple times where they're like frustrated players because they're like, well, I didn't know that. Wait, I didn't know that was that way, because you didn't explain it well or whatever. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll do better. So that's probably my biggest lesson as I'm learning right now, is be as descriptive as possible.
Oh yeah, that is a good one. And Melody, tell us about your first adventure that you ran.
I kind of bit off more than I could chew with my first one. I was trying to base it off of my favorite series, which was called Alice in Borderland. It's kind of similar to Squid Game, but better, in my opinion. It's a similar thing of that you're playing games, except instead of playing for money, you're playing to stay alive. So the stakes are much higher. And I kind of just wanted to recreate all of the games and add in new ones in like a D&D space. And even though I don't think I did very well, all of my players that were in it are still like long-term friends of mine, and I've always said that that was like one of their best like and favorite ones that they've ever played in. So it just kind of like melts my heart. Like
Yeah.
Michael in our server, he was one of my players and like one of the most enthusiastic players that I had. And he always tells me that like it's always been one of his favorites. So it's just a huge compliment because I didn't know what I was doing. It was like the first thing I had ever GM'd, and it was a multi-shot. I didn't even start slow with like a one shot and like work my way into it. I just kind of went full throttle. And I couldn't find any sort of outlines of people who had previously transcribed it into a D&Z setting, so it was just completely off the dome. I think the thing that I struggled most with is that I have aphantasia, so I can't imagine things. So I spent probably like 10 hours just working on maps because my ability to imagine things, even if the players could, I just couldn't rely on like describing verbally. So I used a lot of maps, like pretty much I think every single situation we had, whether it was like an apartment that the players stayed in between games or like the actual game arenas, like all of them had maps because I was just like, I need to be able to visualize this so that I can describe what's going on as best as possible. But I think I struggled most with trying to figure out things for them to do between each individual game. Because in the series, it's very different than how they wanted to play it as players. Um, but they didn't seem to have as much of a problem with it as I thought it was going to be. So it's still like one of my favorites, and I'm hoping to bring it back eventually after have been able to kind of adapt it more. And a new season has come out since I've done that, so maybe I can incorporate some of the new games from this new season into the game when I do it next. So I'm excited to work with that.
I remember, Melody, your GM application coming through and seeing that you had how do you pronounce it? Aphantasia.
Aphantasia.
Aphantasia, and I was like, that is incredible that even with that, you're like, I'm still gonna do this. I'm still gonna run games. I'm gonna apply for a GM, and you're even running a campaign on the server right now too, right?
I did end up stopping it just because I've had 5 people drop out and I've had to keep replacing them over the span of, I think I've only been doing this campaign for like 5 months or so, and it just gets kind of tiring having to replace people.
Yeah,
And it
that's
didn't seem like a lot of people had much interest in it, and it was kind of slow set. So I think I'm just going to go back to running like multi-shots and one-shots because that seems to be kind of my medium. So
yeah. We've all had that struggle, right, guys? It's been, you get a game up and running, and when you have rotating seats, it could be demoralizing just to you, but to your players, So sometimes it's that moment where you're just like, I have to end this, and then just, do something fresh. And that might breathe new life into a game that could last you years.
that's amazing.
Yeah, I have a question. Before I ask Tom's question, especially for people who are out there that are thinking about, I'm brand new, I've been a player for a long time. I really want to get into GMing. What do you feel like is like the biggest hurdle or the biggest thing that prevents people from from actually doing it? And what are some, recommendations or some tips that you might be able to provide to get over those hurdles?
Well, I'll go. I feel like especially in like the Critical Role era. Everyone's always like, well, I need to come up with a whole government system and all the gods and all the continents. And I think that, you know, when you look at it from like closer to a video game perspective, like the only thing that matters is what your players are interacting with. And if they don't interact with it, it's like it's not even there. So I always recommend just like start with like the plot and like the people that are guaranteed to talk to, like the NPCs, and just go from there because people spend a whole time building this whole world and it's like if the adventure only takes place in one city, you know, it's not a waste because if they ask about the other stuff, sure, but you know, if you're playing with Oops All Barbarians, they're probably not going to ask about, you know, who's in charge or when's the last time the regent held a meeting or anything like that, you know? So just focus on what your players are going to engage with.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a valid point. I do see a lot of GMs like kind of waiting on the sidelines because they want to make everything perfect. They want to make sure that every single corner is planned out, every single faction in the world is planned out. And as a new player, as a new GM, I should say, that can prevent you from running a table for a long time. And for me even, I struggled with world building, which actually Tom later on today is going to be doing a segment on world building, which I'm really excited about.
Thank
But
you.
before you get there, I think the biggest thing is play in a world, get lore, like get an understanding of how they write it out so that it's engaging for your players. If you have access, there's so much online. There's a lot of free content too. And today we are giving away a starter set. So if you're watching the stream right now, please comment. We know you're there. And we'll go ahead and roll some actual dice and give that away. But it is important to kind of engage with material that's already been published or produced as a new GM, I feel, so that you get an understanding of pacing, you get an understanding of, you know, how an adventure is really run. That's my biggest tip when you're first starting off.
I think another thing people find really daunting is the actual like improvisation of it all. Especially, you know, when you can't plan out every single possible scenario, you can't read your players' minds and know where they're gonna go, know what they're gonna say, and having to improv the lines of your characters and improv what their personalities are like for the NPCs, and it's so much easier than it seems, especially when you fleshed out your NPCs, you fleshed out your world and your story. It just comes to you. It can seem so scary, but it truly is something that you just have to trust your gut and know that you're going to be able to handle it, and not just let that take over and make you like freeze up out of fear and not be able to put yourself out there and try something new like that.
Yeah, that is well said, honestly.
Yeah, I think a couple things on this. Yeah, definitely perfection is the enemy of done. We'll get anything done if you just keep saying like it needs to be just right. And I think kind of that mindset comes from a lot of the D&D podcasts.
Oh yeah.
It's important to understand that they kind of do that for a living. This is for fun. For fun times, you don't need to plan out every possible outcome. And also, it's okay if the player or the DM aren't a voice actor or an improvisational actor of some sort. You're there to have fun and play a game with your friends. So I think the big one is just like don't sweat the small stuff.
I couldn't agree more. I'm not a voice actor. I have a hard time sometimes with voices. I do my best attempt, but one of the best things I enjoy, this is just like a tool that I like using, is using a voice changer, because you can do all types of voices.
You could even be a scary dragon.
I don't even know if it's coming through on the stream, but I hope it is.
No, it is.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but sometimes it's hard for players to hear that, so it's not good to be dependent on it either.
Well, and I heard Taliesin give some amazing advice for like, even though you're not a voice actor, just like come up with 2 adjectives for a person. Like they're sleepy and like frantic, or they're like
Right.
they're angry and they're direct. And like that'll give you quite a list of combinations, okay? And
I know
that's all
my
you
camera
need.
does that too. My camera does that too. I have that same feature, and it makes me make the L sign to like.
Did you watch your face today? Because I can see those pores.
I would rather the zoom in than it acts like I'm the ugliest person and it just like turns away from me and refuses to look at me. It's just like I would look at anything else but you.
That happened during my live stream. Remember, Xander? It kept getting
All
my
the
hat
time.
or like the
All the
ceiling.
time.
It was yeah.
I'm like
Oh,
messaging her. I'm like, wait, you're off screen. You're off screen. That with the voice thing, like voice actors will always tell you like it's not the actual voice, it's the tone or the content of the voice or what you're saying versus the accent or the making your voice higher or lower, so that kind of goes with what Taliesin was saying. It's like find those 2 adjectives and just work off of that. It's not about do you have to have the Scottish inflection of the accent. It's like, but you might say words that Scottish people would say, right? To kind of get them to think that, oh, you're Scottish.
And there's nothing wrong with just.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, there's nothing wrong with making everyone a cowboy.
Also,
right? Nothing wrong with making everybody a cowboy.
If your players are giving you a hard time about an accent, like that's not proper Scottish, remind them that Scotland doesn't exist in this world, and so the accent you're doing is canonically correct.
Right? You're
Hey,
right.
that is good.
Unless you're doing dwarves, everybody knows what dwarves sound like, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hey, I did a half orc from New Jersey, and my players loved it.
See, that's the cool thing too. Is like if you pick like 2 different things that you don't think would mash together, and you just do it together just for the hell of it. Like that always ends up being really fun to do. I forget. You guys all had such really good answers. I forgot what the question was now.
So the main question was what prevents people from actually GMing?
What I would say is like everything that everybody else has said is 100% true. I would also add on to that the fear of the unknown, right? The fear of, am I going to be good? Am I going to be crap? Are my players going to have fun? Are they not going to have fun? Do I know the system and well enough to be able to rule or do rule of cool or whatever? So as much as I'm not like, you want to do a little bit of prep, obviously, but like you don't have to go into hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to try and get every single thing. But at least have an effort of like the trying to understand, because like it's okay to be like, hey guys, I don't know this. What do you guys think, right? And like pull your players in, because it's a collaborative game. So like, hey, what do you like? Or if you don't know, just rule on something real quick, and then you could always look up at it later, kind of a deal. But always have that kind of like, I will try to learn this, try to get better at it, so that you feel like you're always growing. But that fear of the unknown, you're gonna always have that until you start taking steps forward to do something about it. Like, don't let the fear paralyze you to the fact where you're just not gonna. I'm not even gonna do games anymore because I'm too scared, right? You're not gonna lose that until you start running and failing, or running and succeeding, or whatever. So
totally.
I'd like to add something to that. Like Panthea said, just like running a published adventure helps, so you have that backbone. The other thing is like, try to understand your players and your player characters. If you have someone who has speak with animals in your party, prepare for them to speak to animals, because they might not, but if they do, you need to be ready for that. Speak with dead, same thing. Like, this guy's dead, no one's gonna talk to him. I have speak with dead, I want to talk to him. Like,
what does he say?
Goodness.
Oh crap. Right.
So look through your player characters' character sheets. You don't have to have it memorized, but look through it for any surprises.
Yeah.
Speak with animals, you can get so fun with it. My favorite experience that I've ever had in a campaign has actually been in my boyfriend's campaign, where I had speak with animals and I spoke with a bird to be like, hey, there was a murder in front of this house. Like, does this bird maybe know anything? Do they see anything? And it was like 15 minutes of the bird just going back and forth. And he'd be like, you got any seeds? Like, I can give you some information if you got seeds.
Nice.
And it was just
Yeah.
like hilarious of going back and forth. And that character came up later on in the campaign, and just callbacks with stuff like that when you get to have fun with your players and have fun with the spells, especially when it's stuff that's enjoyable for everyone to listen to, if even if their character's not directly involved, are like huge moments.
Yeah, absolutely. And oh my goodness, like NPCs, people they they want to explore every avenue, right? So you go in a tavern, that you describe maybe a couple of people and they're going to talk to them and think there's something special, and it's okay if you don't have a last name for them or you don't have a backstory for them. You can make it really short. And I will say this because if you are new to jamming, that could be a big hang up is um I'm afraid. What if the characters go off script? What if they go adventure somewhere that I had not prepared? And I think the biggest thing is it's okay, especially when you're new and you don't know how to pivot, you don't know how to improv. You can tell them, "Hey, there's nothing really going on in that area." Like, you know, you're the hot and cold game, right? Like you're getting warmer, you're getting colder.
Yeah, I've got something on that. One of my first one shots, the Toymaker's Gift, which I will be running in approximately 3 hours, so join me for that. Um, it takes place in a town and one of the NPC leaves. And so I had a player who was like, I follow him, I'm watching him. And, I definitely had them follow him for a little bit, but I just had to say, like, hey, he's leaving, and if you go with him, you're going to miss the adventure. So you should turn around. I can't make you turn around, but you should. They're like, oh, okay, well, then I'll go back. And just being clear with them about that can save a lot of headaches, a lot of time.
Yeah. It's really good. Let's talk about what module or published adventure you all brought today. I would love to hear what some of your favorites are, why it's your favorite, but also if you've ran that adventure or played in that adventure, what are some things that you altered, some things that you upgraded about the adventure to make it flow better, right?
Tom also had a question. Just in.
Oh yeah, Tom, we'll wait until he gets right back because I want to make sure I
Okay.
answer that while he's here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing Rhyme of the Frost Maiden, and like, they tell you to start at level 1, and GMs will tell you players are at their squishiest at level 1. And so that's one of those things where like you can very easily accidentally kill everybody, especially if they don't make optimal choices. And so just being like, hey, you know what? I would feel safer if everyone was level 3. I would feel
Yeah.
safer if you met a couple friends along the way.
Yeah.
I would feel safer if you like went into this little dungeon first and like found some magic items. It's always a balance. I don't like to make my players feel overpowered, but I don't want to accidentally kill someone. I'll intentionally kill someone, but accidentally is not the mood.
It's the worst feeling. It's the
I
worst
was like,
feeling to like auto
and
kill the first like the level 1 character. It's like drags up a new character.
and I, as a person, I'm luckier than average. So I think one of these last sessions I had like 3 nat 20s on like bad guys. And so it's like, I'm so sorry, but that's a crit and you're going to take all this damage. It's like I can't take it back after that because I roll in the open so that way people know I'm not cheating or whatever. But it's
Right.
like giving them the tools that they need and kind of like Xander said, like describing ahead of time, like this thing is huge. It is unfazed by the attacks that you do, just to sort of beef people up so that way they can survive the adventure to get to a point where they're enjoying it.
Oh my goodness, totally. Actually, I hide my roles, especially for a beginner table, on purpose because of this one experience that I had. It was a brand new player, brand new to the game, put so much thought into their character, and I mean, they've had like pages written out. Now, it's really important as a player to learn to die. Like, it is very important. That is a very important skill to learn in this
That's a
game.
real thing.
Yeah. But it was like I'm teaching these guys how to play D&D. It was on the old server, and I crit on him with a rat. Okay.
Wait, so a rat killed him?
A rat. It was like this
Wow.
giant. It was a giant rat. It wasn't just like a normal rat, right? But
Oh, okay,
it was,
okay.
but it was like
I would
he's like
quit.
this.
I would quit so fast.
But I had open roles because I'm like, I don't like, I want them to know like this. But it was like, honestly, I wouldn't have mind like fibbing that role because that was so devastating to that person. They actually did not come back. And so that was one thing I learned early on is, just gauging the table, knowing the experience. You want your first experience to be good. You don't have to go all hard on your players, especially when they're like new to the game. But yeah, your point, commander, reminded me of that.
Yeah, no, like I said, my mom tried to talk to a dragon because she was a draconic sorcerer,
That was amazing.
and
She was amazing.
everyone else in the party was like, I duck for cover, I turn invisible, I start piling snow on top of myself, and she's just like, Dragon, I need to talk to
Well,
you. I need
premise,
your
here's the
help.
she was a dragonborn, so she was thinking this was her
She's not a
great,
dragonborn. She's a draconic
dragon and
sorcerer.
draconic sorcerer, so she thought it was like a lineage thing.
Yes.
So I get where she was coming from, but she
But
wasn't.
yeah,
She wasn't listening.
when you talk to a hungry dragon as a humanoid, you might get eaten.
Right. Hi, Snack. How you doing?
Oh my goodness.
Whew.
Tom, I saw you. Tom, I saw you brought your book. Oh, I just saw it flash real quick on the screen. For those of you who are new, I see some new viewers. Welcome to the stream. We're actually about to go into some of our favorite modules or written adventures. And part of the reason we're sharing this is to tell you some things that we might have altered about the campaign, maybe something that you might want to run yourself. So yeah, Tom, go ahead and share what you brought to the table.
All right. So before Dungeons and Dragons, there was I was playing a lot of Magic the Gathering. Particularly one of my favorite sets was the Ravnica set because I like the idea of a big city ran by all these major guilds. Like even though they're fighting and sometimes beefing with one another, their existence kind of is what keeps the city afloat. So my choice is Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica.
That's awesome.
I think it was one of the first like big campaigns I played on Discord. Was from someone running. They started in the Guildmaster's Guide and then they wrote their own stuff along the way, and I was in that for a while. Even very rarely do I get to complete a campaign and see a character like fully realized and complete what they want to get done, but I got to see it through in that campaign. That's why it resonates with me so hard.
Yeah. So have you ran the campaign too?
Not yet.
What are some things from your player experience that you would say that you would probably like alter or improve? Or some things that you really loved about it?
I think what I loved with the way the DM ran this campaign was the use of what's known as the Guild Pact. It's like the big rule that keeps the city going. They kind of also made it this tangible symbol you can utilize. And my character's growth was he joined the Gruul clan, which is basically the barbarians. His whole thing, he just wanted to party and fight. then sort of along their path, they mellow out and they become this kind of hero for the city. Then they decide to take up where their master left off and pass on their teachings at their own school. And I really like that character arc.
It's a really neat social dynamic too. And I think that's like really fun in a game to kind of be able to play out. I think that's why I like Dragon Heist in Waterdeep. You know, you have a lot of interactions with like how the city functions. So it's super cool.
Yeah, that too. I mean, even though Ravnica is like a city the size roughly a planet, it still is very vertical slice. There's nothing outside of the city. It's all kind of just subsumed inside of itself. So you get to explore that dynamic. It's like
Super
if
cool.
12 different mob families ran New York City and each one was very, very important. So they had to kind of play nice together sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool. Xander, what about you? What did you bring to the table today?
I had a hard time because I was gonna say Dagger Heart, but I don't really GM Dagger Heart. As a player, I'm really enjoying Dagger Heart. But I'm really enjoying as a GM. I'm running the new Stranger Things Hellfire Club. Welcome to the Hellfire Club module. That came out, and me and my players are having a really fun, crazy time with that. But I think that's just because I like the little crossover into Stranger Things that the Easter eggs stuff that they did. And then of course there's Fablecraft.
Tell us about Fablecraft because that is going to be our next segment, and everybody's going to get a look at that table. And we've been running that for how long has it been since
almost
we've had
almost a year. Almost a year.
Yeah,
8
we've been
months.
doing a great campaign through Fablecraft, and it is. I'm a player in it. I don't play in a lot of games, and it's like I really look forward to these games on Saturdays.
I think it's its simplicity, right? Because it's one of those systems. It's a very simple system. It's a D6 system. It's very simple. It's meant to be a stepping stone for creativity, but also for players who want to get into TTRPGs or even GMs who want to get into TTRPGs. So it's that kind of a setup. But I think it's its simplicity of it that allows players to be super creative and which is again why I like Deck Heart too, because it gives you room to breathe. For don't get me wrong, D&D is great, but D&D can be very restrictive on rules, regulations. Like even if you do the rule of cool thing, there's still this like kind of constricting, no, you can't do that, or you can do that, but it's it's gonna be a way to the die kind of a thing. Or so I really like the systems of that allow more breathing room. And Fablecraft does that. It's still in its early access. It's free on Steam, and it's still early access, so it's not fully out yet. But everything that we've been playing through with it has just been really great, really great, a lot of fun. So, and then they have these cute little it's almost like a hybrid of video games or like mobile games, because when you get into combat, you see your tokens, you've got your little skill bar on the bottom with your different skills that you can have. You have skill trees that you can go through to learn as you level up. So it's kind of like that blend of TTRPG and like mobile game type thing. So
Yeah, and on the GM side, like they offer a lot, right? They have like these moving pictures. Even you can have some of the NPCs narrate, and they have like a voice actor already like pre queued up to do if you wanted to play it. That it's actually really incredible. I haven't seen it on the GM side, so what I witnessed as a player, I was like,
yeah,
dang,
there's a whole
that's really cool.
on the GMG. It's the Guild Master's Guide. It's very it's all like it just goes down the line of like, okay, read this out. Okay, then this is what the person says. Okay, here's the choices that your players could do and what roles you would have them make. It's very I want to say, I mean, it is kind of a handhold for GMs. You don't have to follow it. Like you can kind of branch out to do whatever way you like. But if you're brand new to it, it's all right there for you in order to make it easy for you to be like, okay, and this is the next step. Okay, this is the next step. This is what I need to do next, kind of a thing. And it does it all for you, kind of a thing, which is really nice for newer people that want to start GMing and stuff like that. So, but
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
totally agree. You guys want to hear what I brought? I couldn't decide.
You brought
I brought
Strahd. You brought
Of
Strahd.
course I brought Strahd. No, but these are like my top 3 modules that I've ever ran. I would say if I had to rank them, Strahd was number 1 because it was my first campaign that I ever ran. Another GM had recommended it. Honestly, I don't know why he recommended that as like this is your first campaign you're ever running and it's going to be in Curse of Strahd, and there's like so much to the world. There's the Taroka deck that will send you in so many different variations of like how this campaign could be played. But honestly, I loved it. It was like I've ran this campaign now like 3 or 4 times. I've played through it. And I think my favorite thing is the Death House. That is my favorite thing about the campaign is just this. You can start at a starting point of the Death House from levels 1 to 3. Now it is deadly, but I enjoy the fact that, as a level 1 character, you don't confront a lot on the onset. You walk into the house, you do have a timed thing, but you can explore. And people are tense because they're like, there's going to be something that jumps out at me. And it is that horror genre, right? But it's like you go 3 levels and then finally something jumps out at you, but you kind of get comfortable. But it leaves more room for dialogue, for interaction, for exploration. So I just love that dynamic. I'm actually planning on printing the Death House and actually like fixing it up as like an actual playable 3D model. So yeah, that honestly, that's my first one. Tomb of Annihilation was my second. I love just the dinosaur aspect, honestly. But the jungles, it actually it brings you out. It actually was the first module that showed me that there's more to D&D than just dungeons or dungeon crawls, because I was like that was my first experience of D&D, which I love that. That's a good dungeon crawl is always great. But seeing like Tomb of Annihilation, you have this colorful city and all these different cultures, and you do like a hex crawl, but through the jungles, and the exploration is just wild there. So yeah, those are like my top 2 modules. Go ahead, Commander Bold. Tell us.
So when I was going, I think I tried to start with Kobold Press's Southlands because like as a black person, I feel like a lot of the systems are sort of geared towards like European medieval stuff, and like I wanted something different for my family. And so they had like an Egyptian based setting that I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, yeah, let's go in a pyramid. I wasn't quite ready for that, so we'll probably go back to it later. And then I went to Icewind Dale's because I always feel like, especially in D&D, especially the way it's going now, it's like the players just get so powerful. It's just like, oh yeah, I'll fight whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, are you gonna fight it just being super cold? You can't fight that. It's like, are you gonna fight that you're running out of food? Not that it's going that way in my game, because, power is power. My players have a lot of power. But besides that, another campaign that I've really been like leaning on to like teach me like campaign going, Dungeon in a Box has a really great system. This one is Voyage of the Fallen Star. There's like 12 chapters in it. And I really loved it because they would send you like physical stuff, but they'd also send it to you digitally. And so like I have like a physical map for the ship that they were on, and I have it digitally. So whether I wanted to run in person or not,
Yeah, that's awesome.
I could run it either way. And I just felt like that versatility was everything I needed getting started. So that way, like, if I want to run in person, if I want to run online, like, there's a book here, and they have, like, they would send, like, minis to go with it.
Love that.
And things for the players, like, to keep track of their quest, and then, like, 3D stuff. And again, there's like 12 of them per campaign. And then I found out this is one of the campaigns. There's a couple of other ones. So I was like, okay, this is everything I need to like do what I need to do and like practice those muscles. So couldn't recommend any more highly.
Yeah, I love that. And is it pretty bite sized? Because it looks like it's thin.
Which part?
They're
The
skinny
map?
minis. Skinny minis.
Oh, the skinny minis. Okay, so I can't show because these are not the proper skinny minis. But yeah,
Okay,
they're like a
okay.
thin, like acrylic, and then they have a little base, and they all just fit in a binder like Pokemon cards.
Which is great because honestly, I have 3D prints, right? I have a 3D printer. I went really crazy, and then I ended up like giving away a lot of my stuff because it was just too much,
It takes up a
like
lot of space. The
too
3D takes up
much.
a lot of space.
And then, I mean, honestly, when I was going into my in-person games, I had to like bring a wagon with me with all the crap that I was bringing along. But I mean, it's fun. It's just that you can get by even with a pen and paper. My dad, when we first learned, like it was all imaginative. Like he had like this grid that he put out on the table, and he just drew with like one of those dry erase or the dry erase markers. And I was like, and I was just there, and I think it's like all of these things are really fun and helpful, but it's like at every level you can just play D&D, you know. But yeah,
Yeah.
adventures, like having that, like that gave me confidence. Like those box sets, with maps and everything, it helps. Melody, what's a published material that you would recommend?
Mine, the one that I immediately thought of isn't actually official material. It's something that I found on Arcane Library, which is a website that I highly recommend for people who want to try out something that's not official but is a little bit more imaginative. Usually they're all like a couple dollars, so they're very affordable. And it's essentially kind of like a hell afterlife kind of thing, and your players are helping out this ghost ship that is where all dead pirates go when they die. I had a lot of fun playing it, and then I had a lot of fun running it.
Yeah, I love this. This is it, right? Arcane
Yeah.
Library? Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Phenomenal. I highly recommend it to anyone who's looking for anything new. There's tons and tons and tons of adventures on there, and there's reviews for all of them, so you can know which ones are well loved, and which ones you might need to do a little bit more tweaking on. But yeah, and it was the first time that I kind of had any. I don't want to say any, but it was the campaign that I've had the most fun voice acting with, because that's something that I'm still getting used to as a GM, like not not judging myself with voice acting, not like feeling embarrassed or feeling like I'm being cringy. Embracing the cringy as a GM is like a huge step to take.
Totally. Commit to the bit. If you're gonna do it, do it.
But with official, I loved Descent into the Lost Caverns. That was also one of my favorites, and I went back and found the original one that also had the lower level, so I got to play both. And it took a little bit because all of my players wanted to explore every single room in the caverns. They couldn't leave any room untouched. So it was definitely time consuming. But I would say it was worth it, just like seeing how they bonded and seeing how they got surprised when they entered one room, got attacked, and they went to another and they got attacked again. There were a couple of near-death saves. But I I would also recommend that for people who need a like step-by-step walkthrough, like need a little bit of hand holding, because there's nothing wrong with that. You can always adapt it if you need to, but it is very expansive and kind of gives you everything that you need. So I had a lot of fun DMing that.
That is awesome. And that is so cool. I actually never knew about that. So I'm gonna dive into it. That one cursed scroll looks really interesting to me.
Yes, you have to see how it is, because I've been looking at that, but I haven't actually like bought it and looked through it yet. So if you're able to, just let me know how it is, because I really want to explore that one too.
I'm gonna check that one out.
Hell yeah.
Tom, you asked a question a while ago. I think it's a good one. What is a genre you wish to explore as a GM? Or even your favorite genre?
Yeah. So when I create a campaign, I like to center around maybe a certain genre. So sci-fi, fantasy, obviously with D&D, maybe the steampunk, some genres. Personally, one of my favorites I still struggle with because I'm just not clever enough is the heist.
Ooh, yeah. That's
Creating
a good genre.
Yeah. There's nothing more fun than like building these elaborate traps and then having your party sit down and like plan out how to get out the quickest way. I'm a sucker for heist movies. I love the Ocean's movies so much. So that would have to be my genre.
Yeah. Oh, and
I
those
don't
are so
have.
fun too.
I
Yeah.
love the puzzles and stuff like that, but I just don't have the. I don't have the mental bandwidth to come up with puzzles and traps and stuff like that. So I'm always googling like, okay, give me traps, give me puzzles. What looks good? What looks good? Like, because I can't come up with it myself. But they are fun to do.
Ooh, I have something to show everyone based on that. Walk with me here as I go to my library.
Yeah.
That camera work is impeccable.
No, literally, that's what I was thinking too.
Oh.
Traps, puzzles, and dungeons.
I've been looking at those books for ages. I thought about buying them.
Honestly, as a tip and trick, this company, whoever produces it, I actually haven't really focused in on who produces it.
She hasn't really looked at it yet.
No. I mean, I buy these. I keep seeing them. I never looked at the company that does it. But I love them and I have used them. So this one is like traps and puzzles and dungeons. This one I've used more of random encounters. This one has been so helpful because you can like plug these into whatever setting. You can plug it into a campaign. I use it a lot for my 3-year campaign that's been going on, and I'm like, shit, they're like walking into this place. I don't have anything like really prepared here. It's a new place that they're going into that I wasn't expecting, and bam, you could like pop one thing in here. There's a one that I ran, the Octagon Gang, and that was like very much an interesting, like there's this retired like heist members. They were known as the Octagon Gang, and yeah, it gives you NPCs, but they're like little bite-sized encounters, or that might last like 1 session, 2 session, 3 sessions at most, but pretty cool.
My setting is I love making the players sweat. So anything that's with like Cthulhu or dark horror fantasy, or murder mystery that's got like the darker tones to it, that that like I love getting them. I want them to feel scared. I want them to feel nervous. Although I always laugh at it. I'm like, did I guys just make you guys paranoid? What the heck? You know like, but that's also a good thing. So yeah, that'd be the genres that I've only dipped my toes in. I want to do more of, just because I love getting the reactions of the players of like, oh my god, I'm scared to go in this room, or oh my god, what is gonna happen if I do this, or that kind of stuff, or ew, that body sounded really disgusting, gross. Ew. Like I love hearing all that. So, but that's because I like horror movies. So that's probably
right.
I'm still trying to figure out how to do like a proper mystery in my games, and I again, I play with my mom a lot. She's such a wild card that just like I haven't really got the courage to like try or like come up with something that I feel like is going to stump her for more than 30 minutes. But I would really love to figure out how to do like a proper mystery with like, people finding clues and who done it type of thing. I think that would be really cool. But also, I'm a fan of sci-fi, so I'm looking forward to like maybe some Star Wars 5e or something in that vein where just like I said, the ship and sailing to other places, even if that had to be like closer to steampunk than actual sci-fi. But I think that would be cool to look into.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm kind of in the same boat where like I really want to do a mystery, but I'm still struggling to figure out how to present it in a good way and be able to maintain it. So I'm kind of just trying to join more mystery games and kind of learn from others and kind of steal some of their skills so that I can do one of my own. Because mysteries are kind of, I think, the ones that I enjoy playing in the most. So I would love to like recreate that experience for somebody else. But
I
I'm
read
still trying to
somewhere,
figure out how to do that.
I read somewhere like it's kind of like telling a story. Like you start at the end and then you work your way backwards. Like you start at the
Yeah, yeah.
what's the prop or what was the thing that happened, and then you're supposed to like spider web it
Like spider
backwards.
web it out. Yeah.
But my
We
brain
have
just
our first
doesn't work that way.
Sorry. We have our first question from our viewers here. Dusty, uh, I've been wanting to
Hi,
explore
Dusty.
more political intrigue. Have y'all ever run any games where the players are important political figures within the world, and what problems would slash have you presented them with? Has
I
anybody
don't touch.
ran
I
any?
don't touch. No, I don't touch
I
political.
haven't.
So I'll just let y'all take over with this one if y'all have.
Yeah, I just not no.
I haven't, but I can see this presenting something of a small problem. Um, in most campaigns, it usually goes a fledgling hero and then you advance. So having a character start as maybe some kind of noble with pull in the city and knowing people and having a reputation, it could present an interesting campaign, but it could also present its own spike of problems.
Yeah.
Especially if they're a player who's a noble who comes from money, because then it's like, okay, why don't I just pay off the problem that we're trying to solve here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on the players that definitely you invite to the game because they can like derail it because it's like, oh well, I'm like the most important person here. But if you give them guidelines and like some like a way to map that out, I can see that working into a really fun campaign. I have done nothing on point of what Dusty's talking about, but I've done like high society events where it was more like diplomatic and role playing and you're meeting with other like faction leaders. And that provided a lot. It was more of a role playing centered game than anything. But I also have a recommendation. This game came out, it's a board game, but it actually provides a lot of like framework for that type of setting. If you were to play Lords of Waterdeep, it is a board game, granted. It is so interesting because it kind of shows you on the other side of things. You have your own establishments that the players or like the adventurers will go into, and you give out quests or hire them on for things, and so it kind of has a whole different look at the table. So you are important figures in the Lords of Waterdeep, and so I would recommend that play that a couple of times. Run some like little maybe a model assembly, right? Like they're trying to decide on the fate of the world together, and they all have like an important aspect of it. um, if you want to run a game like that, I would highly recommend playing that board game and starting small. It could be like hey, like we're meeting together. There's war at hand. Develop your faction leader, whoever it might be. Who are they? Like what kind of business do they have? And then maybe have like some limitations, right? Like you don't have a horde of endless like militia, right?
Adding on to that, I've in my Icewind Dale's Rime of the Frostmaiden campaign, my players like they kind of took over a city that had been taken over. And so they sort of became leaders of a town. And MCDM Matthew Colville's supplements, he's got some like strongholds and followers type thing where like you're in charge of an organization. And so that kind of helped a little bit where like they decided to be like a trading company. And they wanted to like do trade and whatever, which was an interesting choice for me. But you know, as far as like the other, like they're in charge of a town, but there are other towns that have been there. And it's like, okay, what do these leaders of the other town like? What is their motivation? What are they trying to do? How are their players in their way, and how can the players help them? That's an important thing to always keep consideration of, because you know there are towns where like, oh, you know, you helped our friends, so we're inclined to be friendly to you. What do you need? Versus like, hey, you saved that town, I wanted that town to crash so that way I could buy it out. What does it take to get you out of here? You know, like that's something to always keep in mind as far as like interacting with the players. And then adding on to that, like, you know, they started out as just adventurers, but as soon as they're in charge of the town, like now there's someone to be accountable for all the shenanigans they get into, and just like, hey, you messed up this bar over here. Someone's gonna have to pay for that. And they're just like,
Right.
oh, excuse us, we're going to this other town. It's like, yeah, but if you ever come back, you're still gonna have to deal with this.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. And I think that gives players like another look at things instead of just being murder hobos and like doing whatever you want and stealing from whatever you know want. But if you're like a practical part of that environment, you want to maintain your reputation.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing for players to remember is that actions have consequences. Things
Yeah.
mean things. You can't just go around stabbing
Oh my god.
everybody.
Yeah, and they
I
left.
wish
They left.
I wish just like a tagline on your forehead. You know, just consequences have actions. So it's
I left one of
You
their
know,
NPC friends at that town, and she sends the messages often, just like, "What do you think you're doing?"
um, w- this actually sets us up for a really good question that we can dive into. Um, but before we do, Dusty, the last part of your question about like what problems would you present them with? I would say, you know, war, crime, maybe even a serial murder in the city, perhaps like even a shortage of supplies and how to, you know, handle that. Those all things would be things that I would imagine presenting the players with in that setting. Um,
Yeah, for my party, like one of them was like in a spy group, and so, you know, after they had gotten into some shenanigans, they rolled a nat one on their spy thing. I was like, the sheriff has a bounty out for you, and the bounty hunters found you. So now you're getting this extra fight, and they're just like, I don't understand. Da, 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 da. It's like, hey, you messed up that whole town back there. Like someone is paying to get you got.
yeah.
And then I think for like their home base, like they had talked their way into a very lucrative like money flow. And I had the NPC they left in charge of that town. It's like, hey, I would send you more money, but I've been using your money to pay off your bounties, so you're not gonna get that money.
Jeez.
and if worst
That's
comes to
good.
worst, like the coup, you know, the coup archetype thing is always the go-to.
Yeah.
Like if you can't think of it, because you can always branch off from coups. Like, because I mean, I'm in a game where we're all nobles. We were all we're part of the king's family, but we were overthrown and we were kicked out. So now we're trying to get back in, right? So that came up with its own problems in itself that now we have to deal with. So I would recommend, suggest too, if you can't, like, if it's getting too difficult to be like, I can't figure out these threads, just have somebody overthrow your noble's family or whatever, and then how do they react to that, and what does that present to
Yeah, those
as a
are
backup?
that's a good idea. Dusty said, I have DM'd a game in Fey Realm where I built out a political systems and all the players were nobles of their own choice. The first session, I killed off an important queen of the realm and left a huge power vacuum. And it was very interesting how they interacted with the situation and how they tried to solve it. Yeah, these are all fun things, like like almost bringing in some real life examples and having them play out at the table. So much more than just like you start a session, they find a monster, they fight it, and it's over, right? Like there's so many ways that you can run a table. I wanted to get into this next question, and it's a big one for every DM at the table. How do you deal with like off the rails players? How do you deal with some conflicts that happen at the table? um, that I think for a new GM sometimes it can be overwhelming to deal with like different social dynamics because we're all people at the end of the day. So what are some like tips and tricks and things that you kind of implement in your games to kind of keep that cohesion, keep that in check, and keep a respectful space?
So the first thing I would say, do a session 0, because I know a lot of people feel like they can skip it. My mentality is the best way to solve a problem is to pre-solve the problem before it happens. If I start a game and I say, hey, listen, we are cooperating, this is the adventure we're aiming for, and these are the kind of themes you can expect. Anyone who's like, well, I don't really feel that, it's like, okay, well, then you're not really feeling this game. Like, either we
Yeah.
need to change the game or we can change the people or it's not for you. Like that will solve so many problems. Like even now I'm in a game now and it's not D&D, but like me and the other person, like we are like we're kind of femme fatales and we're ready to kill anybody. And we have this one guy who's like who thinks of himself as heroic, and he's like, well, I want to save this and I want to save that. And like if you do a session 0 and be like, hey, you have 2 murder hobos and you're not on board with that. So like, we can talk about the middle ground or changing it or whatever. But if you don't do a session 0, it's session 1, you're starting, maybe you're recording, everyone is committed, and then home dude's like, oh, well, I don't really get along with my teammates. It's like, okay, so your character really wouldn't stay in that party, but you've committed as a player, so now everyone just feels awkward about it. And if you just do a session 0, be like, hey, we're not gonna fight each other, we're not gonna, or be like, hey, some people have a secret agenda and you can, you might get backstabbed at some point in this campaign. Be prepared. Like you can say that. That's okay, and people will take it a lot better if you say that up front. But if you skip that, you're missing that opportunity.
Yeah.
I think
And
I think
honestly, go ahead, Xander.
no, as I say, I think far too many people think that it's going to be like Critical Role or Dimension 20, where it's like an automatic things are just going to just fit and go smoothly, and they forget that those are entertainment shows. They're done in a format that's for entertainment, not for like and they had months and months
Yeah,
of
they probably
prep
did like
and time.
3 session 0s.
Right. So that they could be cohesive, or they could know that this person is going to be a backstabber or whatever, blah blah blah. So I agree with Commander Bold 100% that you have to have that session 0 to set the expectations, see what the players want to do, how you're going to work together to make that happen, and then you may have to modify it as the campaign's going along. That's totally fine, but everybody has to be on the same page of what to expect. And I would add that you are the DM. You have the final say. So if somebody doesn't agree with you, or if somebody's like, this isn't going to work out, then you just say, okay, well, thank you for playing. I appreciate it. Maybe we can play in a different game next time. Not every table is for every player. Not every player is for every table. Like that's just how it is. And
Yeah.
you have to be okay with letting people go. You might feel bad or you might feel bad because they're going to feel bad or whatever. You have to get over that, right? It's if you're
Yeah.
not all having fun at the table, then why are you there? Why are you doing this? So
Yeah.
you have a little bit of, I don't want to say like you're the all-powerful god and blah blah blah. Don't be a jerk. Don't be a jerk about it,
No.
right? Obviously, but hold your ground and be like, I'm sorry, this isn't gonna work out, and be polite about it.
Yeah.
Say, it is what it is, and unfortunately, I think maybe we need to go over a different route, or let's work. But I would always say, like, try to work with them first, right? Always kind of go don't be communicative with them in a negative manner. Be with them, hey, I've noticed that like you were having problems with this, or that you were uncomfortable with this. How can we work through this? And if you can't work through it after that, then okay, then it's time to go. Like,
Yeah.
it's very plain and simple. But I'm also not a very emotional guy. I'm a very like everything's cut and dry kind of guy. So that's why I say it that way. But
Yeah.
hold your own. Hold your own. It is your table. You are the DM. You do have the ability to say, hey, this isn't going to work.
I'd like to tag back onto that if it's all right. Because
Yeah,
I did
totally.
go to like I don't want to say like an ethics thing, but like like a conflict resolution workshop with a bunch of other GMs. And, I didn't really agree with everything that the person who was running it was saying, but something I learned about my style listening to that person, um, I would rather start with an iron fist and then soften up as the campaign goes than to start soft and then have to like grow an iron fist in the middle. Like to start off like, hey, these are my non-negotiables and this is what I'm not going to tolerate, and the other stuff I will allow. So that way everyone like understands up front, and then like later on, as everyone is within those bounds and wants to flex in that, I find that a lot easier to do than to just start off and be like, oh well, whatever you guys want to do, like I'm down for it, and then one player is like spiraling off into the stratosphere and you have to like literally pull them back into it because they're ruining the game. That's my
Yeah.
personal take on it. The person who
Yeah.
was running the workshop had different feelings on it, but find your own style.
Yeah. And honestly, tagging on to the session 0, like I have noticed that my games suffer if I don't have it. And if there's new players, like if it's like half players that have been playing for a while and half new players, it's okay to slow down and do a session 0, even if you're like already on session 10 with the other players. I've like that is something like new that I feel is a very important thing to implement, to kind of build more cohesion on the table, reset the expectations. I actually, so I run paid games, but I also joined a paid game because I have always GM'd. I have been a player in games as well, but I've never experienced like the paid experience, right? And so like even though like people are paying for my games and on at my table, I'm like I still want to learn. I still want to like improve my skills. And so I took on a game over at TTRPG Academy with Jason. 40 years of experience. We've had him on the stream before. We asked him some really amazing questions. So if you ever want to catch like some of that dialogue, it was he was answering some of the most pressing things on our server for GMs. I have it in a couple of like bite-sized videos over on my YouTube channel, but I loved his session 0. I learned so much. Like he started off with like kind of what kind of world do you want to live in, or what do you want to play in? Like what is the theme? Giving us the, basically the ability to shape what campaign we're going to be running or playing, right? And then also talked about this thing of a social contract. And I loved that. Like just this social contract that we are all committing to. Obviously, some things are obvious, right? But just saying them anyways, right? Obviously, maybe as a GM, you don't want harm against women and children, like that is too graphic. There's just certain things, social contract of, not being murder hobos because all things have consequences, right? So session 0 is something that to not skip. That is something I have come to recently, like really feel hard about, that is something you should definitely prepare for. Dusty says, I think that introductions in session 1 are really important too. Having your backgrounds ready and setting that intro vibe can be such a defining moment.
Sure.
Yeah, I
But that's
agree with that. Like
that's a good one.
I've joined games where, I was new and everyone else had been there. And so they're just like, oh, yeah, also this person's there. Keep going. And it's like, I didn't get to describe my character. I didn't get to introduce my character. Like, no one knows what I look like or what my pronouns are or what my purpose is here. And so because they didn't know in the beginning, they're just inclined not to engage. And so then it's this thing where, like, I'm there in the background for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's like, hey, I can't open this thing. Hey, new guy, you can open it, right? It's like, oh, I'm sorry, now you want to talk to me? And it's not their fault. It's the GM's fault for that. Like,
Right.
give your players a chance to introduce their characters, how they want to be introduced, and like, I know it's always like, oh, Aragorn in the back of the corner with the thing down alone. It's like, I know it's cliche, but like, if that's how someone wants to be in the party, like, let them say that so that way the rest of the party knows that that's the vibe that they're going for.
Totally. No, that's good.
Ramel, how would you guys answer that question?
I mean, harping on that Aragorn mention, he also did eventually come out of the shadows and help. He wasn't really just
100%.
sitting in the corner watching the hobbits make a fool of themselves. He eventually was like, y'all need to stop.
Yeah.
So for me, I look at it 2 different ways. If it's my best friends, like I've played with my best friends, we will inevitably go off the rails. Someone will bring a pizza and a 6-pack, and things will just regress until we're all off the rails. For new players, yeah, I mean, Commander got it in 1. It's that session 0. You need that introduction you need to set the stage and, set up the expectations of, okay, is this a campaign where there's, a lot of intrigue and planning and thought, or is this a wacky misadventure? You have to sort of set the stage.
Yeah.
So people don't bring wacky misadventure character to the political intrigue adventure.
Right.
Senpai.
unless you want to. If the party
Unless you
agrees to
want
it,
to,
it's
yeah.
all good.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, that's a really good point. And I think one part of the session 0 that should be implemented is describing what world you're in and like the boundaries, right? Because is it a high railroad game? Like you should let your players know that, like Icewind Dale, you're not going anywhere else other than Icewind Dale. You're not leaving that area or 10 towns, really. Like everything that's going on there is centered around there. Same with Waterdeep, Dragon Heist, everything's centered around the city. So, setting that expectation, it's not like this is a sandbox. This is a more of a storyline that is heavily driven. You'll feel railroaded sometimes. Like this is the expectation that you should convey to your players.
I think
Yeah.
adding on to that, like, telling your players, like, hey, if you don't engage this in enough time, the world goes on without you, you will fail. Like, if you don't do something, if you don't act on it, you will auto fail. So I suggest you put your back into it.
Yeah, I think some people come at it with the expectation of like a video game where like when you leave the village just stops and is frozen in place. They don't recognize it as like a living world where people have things to do. That goblin raiding party you were warned about a few weeks ago isn't going to just sit and wait for you to get back. You either help now or handle the consequences when you come back because you didn't help.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How do you handle problematic players? That was the question, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that the biggest thing is session 0, which y'all have mentioned already. And I think also just having one-on-one with each player is also a huge thing. I like to call them like session 0.5 of just like meeting each player in a call or in DMs, depending on what they're comfortable with. I always prefer call over text.
Yeah.
But I get that not everybody is comfortable with calling one-on-one with someone they might not be super familiar with. And I think adapting to your players' needs and wants is huge. I also try to ask everyone before session what things they are like absolute hard boundaries. Like, I don't want to see anything of this. If I see this, I'm going to be really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Just I think it's very important to make sure that everybody's boundaries are very clear in a way that isn't really exposing them to everybody else of being like, oh, well, you're a pussy for thinking that this isn't this. So, like, I think that's also a huge part of meeting one-on-ones, is just making sure that you know where everybody's at, what their expectations are, so that you are able to set your expectations and kind of make sure you know what the party dynamic is going to be so that you can manipulate that to your will, of course.
Absolutely. Manipulate it to your will. I love that.
Excellent. One last thing I'll add to that, and then I promise I'll be quiet after that.
Don't be.
The other thing for session 0, if you have someone who is playing a character that I don't want to say doesn't match with the adventure, but like is not inclined to go on the adventure, that's a player you need to take extra time to talk with and like be in line with, and like, hey, is this actually a good fit for this adventure, or like is this not the adventure for you? Because I mean, even in my Icewind Dale's one, like it's like, hey, you all are adventurers, and I have a player who's like, I am not an adventurer, I'm a merchant, which is fine, but sometimes it's like, hey, we need you to like save the whole town for free. And that character is like, well, that's not really what I would do. I'm trying to do something else. Like, okay, well, if you're a merchant, like you would stay at the store and just sell stuff. Like you wouldn't actually be on this adventure. Like same thing with
Right.
people, like I have a friend who's like who loves fishing. Like I just want to stay by the river and fish. Like, okay, you're not actually going to be a part of this adventure then, because you would
Right.
just stay by the river and fish, which I know as GM sometimes is like obvious to us. Like if you're signing up for this game, you're going to be in this adventure. It's not always that obvious to the players. Like if you smell someone who is like, actually, I would just stay home the whole time. Like if you're going to actually stay home the whole time, you're not actually going to be a part of this adventure. So, are you staying home or are you going to be in the adventure? And just be
Right.
really clear about it.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. And I wanted to circle back to what Mel said was the one-on-ones. Those are so important. Like, don't think that your session 0 is the only thing that you're going to ever come across. Like, I have a very uh like every milestone of 10 sessions with your players, I feel like you should check in with them. See, you get feedback, see where they're at, see what their characters are experiencing. I use that time to actually get an understanding of how the player feels about the game. If they're happy, if there's things that, maybe we can adjust or help, in to enjoy their experience more, but also get information about their character. How is the character like experiencing the setting right now? What are some things that are really important to the character, because that changes as you continue to develop the story. And out of those one-on-one sessions, it provides more content. Like I can take where this character is at right now and shape some more things into the game that would be meaningful for that player. So we are almost up at the top of the hour, and we have a game to play in. So we're going to actually bring our GM panel to a close. But for those of you who are viewing right now, don't leave. I see you. We are going to be giving away. I see you. We're going to be giving away a starter set, like I said, of your choice. Darth Raven, Dusty, Trap Dracula. I know you already got something from the last session, but let's go ahead and roll and see. All right. Dusty, I rolled a 2. Congratulations. We're going to be giving you a digital version of any starter set of your choosing on D&D Beyond. Reach out to me My Discord is in Twitch. Tom could probably link you up with me too. I'll send you a code, and you can get that and enjoy that for your next adventure. And there's one last question that I would say we have maybe we can offer little bits, just keeping in mind of the time. How do you deal with the concept of downtime for players? Sometimes I feel like some players don't know what to do with an extra second. Do you feel the need to intervene with NPCs or try to let the players interact with each other? Tom?
I would say there's nothing wrong with offering a menu. They have downtime options in a lot of the Dungeon Master's Manual, a lot of those supplements. Have a little menu of this is what this village has to offer. If they're a thief, they're obviously going to know like the thief guilds and their respective little quadrants. A menu there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I think what Commander Bold said in the comment section, player to player interactions, sometimes it could be a little awkward because everybody gets silent. They're not sure what to do at the time, but then eventually it starts picking up, and don't be afraid to give them the space to do that. I sometimes intervene with an NPC if it's they're completely at a loss, but those player to player interactions are some of the most refreshing settings. Like when they just decide to go to a bar and drink together and interact and role play and I don't know, kiss random people in the bar. It's fun. It's fun. And it create some people reflect on those memories and they keep talking about it. And we didn't even have combat, so don't skip the downtime. Downtime is important. It gives your players a chance to reset, to enjoy a little bit more of their character interacting with other characters as well. So I don't want to cut anybody off, but we have to prepare for an actual live play. Xander here is going to be running Fablecraft, and so we're gonna actually stop the live stream of this segment now, so we can get set up, and we're going to be back in about 5 to 6 minutes with a live play of Fablecraft. And this is an ongoing campaign. It's been going on for how long now, Xander? A year?
8 months.
8 months, yeah.
Almost
So it's getting up there, but you'll get to see our fun chaotic party, and we're going through some crazy things right now. We just entered a god's mouth. The god's name is Atrophy, and it was a horrifying experience. And we were working through its tongue, and it was great. So join us in the next 5 minutes, and you'll see it come back up on the screen or the stream. Also, check out my About section of Twitch. I have the Extra Life campaign that we're doing to raise funds for kids. Anything counts towards that goal. And Dusty, reach out to us. We want to give you your gift. So, all right, everyone. See you soon.
Bye.